Hello, everyone. Been a while again.
Hi, Silas. What are we doing here today?
We're doing Goo by Sonic Youth. We're not very consistent with our uploads, so we'll try and do as much as we can.
So, Silas, we don't have a record today. Why is that?
Because you don't have Goo on a record.
Plain and simple. Very true. Never have owned Goo in 12-inch format, but we do have this fancy thick CD with a whole second disc of all kinds of outtakes, demos. There was actually a whole lot of extra material for this album. Do you know why that is?
Because it was like a special edition or something.
Well, right, but I'm saying this at the time, the band was coming off their biggest breakthrough of Daydream Nation. They just signed a contract with Geffen Records, and then subsequently they got folded into DGC, a new Geffen subsidiary, and they had a lot of money to work with. They ended up spending about $150,000 on this. So they recorded a lot of songs, and they had a lot of time to record it. Apparently they broke off with some of the people that they were some of their confidants or people they were known to work with in the 80s, because they were kind of moving up. Some might say they were selling out. You know, in the 90s there was a thing called selling out. All these bands that ended up signing and trying to make more of a career with their music. All the people that were into them early on, and the punk rockers were like, sell out!
Well, I mean, I know what selling out is.
It means you were putting money before art, essentially. Like, you were cool, and you were making interesting music, and you were real, like, art darlings, and now you just wanted to be like all the other corporate suckers. Maybe it's a little bit of an extreme thought, but it was a very prevalent thing in the 90s about music in particular. And I'm sure that was, brandied about Sonic Youth at the time.
Which is amazing, thinking about now everybody is...
No one cares about that.
Monetizes everything.
Nobody cares about monetizing anything. But I do!
Check out his channel.
Yeah, no. But, so they had a producer they were working with, Sansano, Nick Sansano. They ended up, I'm not sure if it was the band who kicked him off or the label, but they ended up working with someone more well-known to pop artists. An interesting story about this, sidebar, Goo, their first major label release, was recorded, the assistant engineer on this album was a guy that taught me music production in SUNY Oswego.
Really?
Yeah, Dan Wood.
Weird.
He's probably... he worked with Public Enemy. He worked at whatever studio they were mixing this at. I'm sure it's in here. His name is Dan Wood.
How did he end up slumming at SUNY Oswego?
Yeah, that's just where he ended up. I don't know. Produced by Sonic Youth with Nick Sansano. He was the one that they fired, and then Ron St. Germain, he was the one that was brought in. Recorded by Sorcerer Sound and Green Street. Green Street, I think, is where he was. Here he is. Assistant engineers John Herman, Dan Wood. That's him. And Judy Kirshner. So, sidebar project, or a sidebar fact there. I have a connection to this album, technically. I didn't learn a damn thing about audio productions or engineering. I mean, I learned a little bit, but I didn't really follow through with it. Anyway, Goo, first major label release, highly reviewed, or very positively reviewed. Ended up being known as Rolling Stone called this one of their 500 greatest albums of all time.
Really?
All the reviews at the time, people loved it.
Well, the cover art, got the Pettibone.
Raymond Pettibone cover.
That's iconic.
Great cover. And definitely more of a... If Daydream Nation was them being sort of radio friendly, this is even more so, I'd say. Although, it is rather aggressive. This is rather an aggressive album as we listen to it. And... I guess Jay Mascis had a production hand on this somehow. I didn't quite know that. He's not on it, but he had some kind of hand in producing the band, I guess, or helping out with sound in some way. So Dirty Boots was a single. This came out in 1990. Now, interestingly, you know the band Nirvana.
Yeah, of course.
I think this band and this album really was sort of instrumental in readying a pop audience for this kind of music. I mean, maybe. This is a precursor to Nevermind. It came out right when Bleach came out, essentially, I think it was. Or Bleach came out just before this. The first Nirvana album.
Yeah.
So what are some standout songs for you on this record?
Oh, not many. I think that Dirty Boots is pretty good. And Cool Thing is okay, personally.
Yeah, that's it.
And My Friend Goo is not good.
Yeah. Well, Kim Gordon's vocals definitely seem to take more of a front center stage here, I think. What do you think?
That she's singing more on
It
this?
feels like there's more Kim singing on this. I don't know if there actually is.
I don't know about that. I think that maybe the Kim offenses feel slightly more offensive on this one, which is perhaps why you're thinking that.
I don't think she was used well vocally, and it's interesting. I was just
I
reading
agree.
some things about how they really enjoyed recording her vocals specifically.
Interesting.
Here's a sample of Dirty Boots.
Time to take a ride. Time to take it in the midnight ride. And if you wanna go,
And Cool Thing.
Whole thing sitting with a kitty. Now you know you should look pretty. Like a lover, not a dancer.
And My Friend Goo. Those are the ones that I was mentioning.
And the boys go,
hey girl, what's new?
my friend who just goes, he you. My friend who just goes, he you.
A first song for Karen. I do like that one. Tunic song for Karen. I like Kim's vocal on that.
Yeah.
Like her spoken word part. I like that part a bit.
Sample of that.
Dreaming, dreaming of a girl like me. Hey, what are you waiting for? Feeding?
Not a fan of Mary Christ. Don't enjoy that one. I like Cool Thing. I think the public Chuck D appearance is a little maybe
Stupid.
contrived. It just happened to be that they were recording a Public Enemy at the same time as this, and he was around, and they said, "Hey, you want to come do your thing on this?" And that's Chuck D going, "Yeah, tell it like it is."
Something funny about that. So when I would listen to this as a teenager, and I knew who Chuck D was, but I actually thought that they had sampled him just randomly. I didn't think he was an actual part of it because it feels so separate.
It does, yeah.
It doesn't seem like there's any conversation happening, and I thought it was a joke.
Yeah, he doesn't feel well integrated into it. And this is a very big sounding, tons of reverb on everything. It's a big production, and they spent a lot of time and money on this. It paid off critically. It did really well commercially too. It sold like 200,000 copies, which was a pretty big number for them at the time. I will say that there's a lot of skippable tracks. I mean, there's at least 2 or 3 tracks that I don't want to hear on this. I'm really not into. My Friend Goo, I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Not really a
Disappear
fan.
is a great song.
I was just going to mention Disappear is a good. Oops, I did it. A good return there right after. And the imagery on this is really good. I just don't think this album overall has aged well. And as a kid at the time, I never listened to this one very much. So for me, it was never a big record for me in their catalog. That said, I only listened in the 90s to like 3 Sonic Youth records. So I was very isolated with what I knew about Sonic Youth. But this one never really registered for me.
Yeah, it's not the best. It's okay.
So what else do you think about it?
I don't really have much to say about it. It's not really one of a Sonic Youth album that I kind of remember.
Okay.
Kind of like Daydream Nation or Washing Machine.
Well, that we can disagree with. I think Daydream Nation was a...
No, sorry. What I meant is something that I would remember is
Oh,
like Daydream
okay.
Nation or Washing Machine.
That one goes right to the core for me.
Yeah.
But this is them in their prime. I mean, this is them after the 80s, like real slow building career, and then it culminates with this, and they were in front of more people than ever.
Yeah.
Other songs on it, I mean, again, it does have a pretty aggressive... I feel like they were trying to really make they were trying to be sort of like a big statement with this. I guess there was a little bit of disillusionment with the guy that helped them in the UK, Paul Smith, the Blast First guy. They severed ties with him right around this, and then there was all the stuff with the Enigma label. They were not happy with the Daydream Nation promotion and the Ciccone Youth. We should talk about the Ciccone Youth.
Yeah, I think
album.
we might do Dirty and then Ciccone Youth.
Now the big question is, should I find this record on vinyl, 12-inch?
I don't know if it's necessary. It's the only one that's missing, but I don't know.
I think it's the only one that's missing.
I definitely feel like, I feel differently. I agree with you in terms of how it aged. I don't feel the same way about it that I did when I was younger. And I used to be whole hogging for this one.
Is that right?
Yeah.
There's a slickness to this that doesn't quite feel right anymore. It feels that same slickness is kind of there with Daydream Nation, but on this it's even more so. And I don't think it serves all of the songs that well. And it would make sense because you had one person engineering and then someone else mixing who might have been coming at it from different ideologies, different ideas of what the band should sound like.
Yeah.
So, but like I said, everything I just was reading about this, everyone critically loved this album. All the cool people thought it was great, and it sold really well, and it didn't get panned at all, except for those punk rockers who were like sell out.
Yeah. I think that the songs are, I don't know, I can't really remember some of them, to be honest. I mean,
You mean you don't remember Scooter and Jinx?
oh, Scooter and Jinx, it's just not structured.
It's atmosphere. It's part of the whole experience of listening to the album.
Yeah.
No, I do I love all the imagery. I think it all feels very early '90s, but I really am still way into it. There's a big booklet in this one. We didn't really listen to the B-sides very much, I will say. We focused on the album. Some
Yeah,
pictures of them recording.
the extras we didn't listen to. We're not including that in this.
Wonder if my guy's in here now.
Who's your guy?
The guy I was telling you about, Dan Wood. This is a cool picture. Smash the PMRC now. That's a Tipper Gore thing.
That's right.
Everyone will remember if you're a child of the '90s, you'll remember the Tipper Gore stuff.
She was the
Parental.
advisory label, right?
That started from her. The parental advisory logo,
That's
I
right.
believe, started from her.
What a name too, Tipper Gore.
Yeah, Al Gore's lady, right?
Yes.
Smash the PMRC was the parental
I don't remember.
Yeah,
what
whatever it
stood
meant.
for.
But Sonic Youth still was always at the front of progressive ideas and not compromising. Even though this album was, whether they meant to or not, a little compromised. Anyway,
Yeah.
I think they were obviously happy with it. They signed a big contract, a 5-album contract with Geffen that included complete artistic control of their album and of their music. So
Yeah.
this is what they wanted it to be. Okay,
Are we doing candles?
we're doing goos. No, candles.
Yeah.
That's the way we do this, right? All right, you go first.
I think that this is 6 out of 10 candles.
Damn, that's low.
Oh, every time you say that. Okay. Why? Why do you say that every time?
That's my
You're
thing.
probably gonna give it lower.
I'm gonna go 8. No,
Okay,
so you would 6. How come?
I just think that it's not really a very memorable one for me. I think that some of them are pretty good, and two of them are pretty bad, and the others are just all not really.
Just okay.
Yeah, just okay. So
You
I
want to
think,
weigh in here, camera woman?
I mean, I think the 2 times I listened to it recently, I was thinking of giving it a 6, but I feel like I'm going to give it an extra candle for how beloved it was to teenage Angela. I'm going to round this out at a 7. Because I also did feel like for the first major label thing, for them to do a song like Mildred Pierce,
Yeah,
which
good
is
point.
chaos.
Which had a different working title originally. I don't know if you know what the name of that
Yeah,
title is.
it's Okay, yeah, so the name for this song, Mildred Pierce, the demo, wasn't exactly a name that we wanted to say here, so you can go look it up if you want.
Yeah, fairly surprising, but I will say I did think that song was bold. There's some just noise for the sake of noise on there, so they weren't trying to dumb it down. And even though I think some of it didn't land, or maybe it landed at the time and just didn't age well, but I feel like there's, even Daydream Nation, even you said the production value, there was a little bit of ick on the production value, but that
It's
album,
a little slick.
that album's forever. That didn't age poorly like this one did, but I'll still give it a 7.
Just in reference to younger
For
Angela.
my younger self.
Fair. I'm gonna go 6.5. You said 6.
Split the
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't be too harsh on it, just because you have to think about context at the time.
Yeah.
I do think that Dirty Boots is meant to be like a real great lead-off track, and I just don't like. I've never liked Dirty Boots. I've never really been into Dirty Boots as a song. It just feels like Thurston's trying too hard or something, which is a lot of times he does do that. But I love Tunic. I do like Cool Thing. Disappear is very good. Mildred Pierce is I do enjoy. There's some other good stuff on this. My Friend Goo is a big setback for me. So it just doesn't. And then overall, when you talk about the production value to it, I feel like that does take away from it as a whole. But it's coming in at a strong period for them. Their next album I really like, and the one before this I really like. So I can't think of this as a misstep either. It's just maybe
Yeah.
a hiccup rather than a misstep.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. So I think next we're gonna do Dirty.
Our last Sonic Youth video was 6 months ago.
It
You think we
was.
can get it quicker? And I think we said this last time too.
We're gonna try and get it. Don't expect it to come out this week, but if it does, great. So, yeah, we'll try. We'll try our best.
Okay. Thanks, Silas.
We're gonna do Dirty next, and I think that we might do Chaconi Youth after that because we didn't cover that one, did we?
No.
Yeah, we didn't cover that, and we could because I'm thinking not just the studio albums. We're not gonna do the SYRs, but I think we're also gonna do stuff like Chaconi Youth and The Destroyed Room and Out and In. Like,
Well, Chaconi Youth is them plus Mike Watt, so it's kind of an album, and it actually came out before this.
yeah,
It came out right before this.
it's also called the Whitey album, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see you guys whenever that is.
Peace.
Yeah.